All right. Welcome to Semper Sometimes with Benny. Today I am with the owner of Office Wook Clothing, which is now going to be changing, but we'll get into that. But please go ahead and introduce yourself and just kind of just let us know who you are, and we'll go from there.
Well, hi everyone. My name is Gia Wu. I am the owner of Office Warrior Clothing now.
Okay.
And we'll get into how Office Wolf became and then now Officer Warrior. And I am a veteran. I was a Marine for 11 years. My background's Chinese. I was actually not born in the United States. I was born in China. I moved over here to Oregon when I was about 3.5. And then I joined the military and the Marines. When I signed up when I was 17, went to boot camp at 18, and then just recently got out in 2017 due to my son.
Okay. So when you joined, you said you joined at 17.
Mhm.
Was that like a random thing for you? Was it already planned? Like, was it like a, hey, I'm joining the military, and then your parents were like, ah? Like, how
Yep,
did that
they
all
had
go?
like an aneurysm. Uh, so I actually never knew about the military. I had no idea. Being Asian, and like super new to like the military. I honestly didn't know what the Navy was or the Air Force or nothing. I had a scholarship actually to go to college, but it was in my hometown, and I really wanted to like go explore the world. I wanted to get out of my like comfort zone. And my parents, being very traditional Chinese, they were very much against it. But they ended up signing the papers for me to join. But how I discovered the Marines was me and my parents got kind of into an argument, and I left the house for a little bit for a walk, and I prayed, and honestly, God answered my prayers within like minutes. And so I took it as a sign, and I just went from there, and I haven't really looked back. And there's been a
That's
lot of,
awesome.
yeah, there's been a lot of experiences that I've grown from, that I've learned from.
Yeah. That's crazy because I actually joined the Marine Corps off of a prayer. Literally the
Oh,
same.
cool.
Yeah, my brother, I don't think I've shared this on the podcast, but so my older brother, he's in the army. He actually just I haven't spoken to him in 5 years, but I'm pretty sure he was supposed to retire last month. So I'm pretty sure he's now retired from the army. I don't know. Um, but 12 or so years ago, he had just come home from Iraq, and he was in the middle of, like, because he's in the army, so they do year deployments. So he was in the middle of his R&R time, and he came home, and my dad picked him up from Newark Airport, and on the way home, my dad my dad dropped him off at the liquor store. He came home with a 30 rack and a bottle of Jose Cuervo, and which was his go-to at the time. And he just began to get belligerently drunk. And then he grabs me, like I'm literally laying in my bedroom, like about to go to sleep. I have school tomorrow. I'm a senior in high school. And he grabs me out of my room, and he's like, come outside and drink with me. And at the time, I had just gotten in trouble for smoking marijuana, and I got caught by my school. They drug tested us. So I was like, hey, like, I get drug. Yeah. So I was like, I can't drink with you because, like, if I get drug
Oh,
tested
bad.
tomorrow,
Yeah.
it's gonna come up. And I was like, but he was like, all right, well, then you're gonna stay on that side. We're gonna talk. So he starts talking to me about, pretty much while he's belligerently drunk, he's telling me that I'm a piece of shit, and that I need to be better, and that I need to join the military. And I looked right at him, and I was like, dude, I don't want to be anything like you. I was like, do you realize that you're belligerently drunk right now telling me that I need to be better? I was like, that's
And,
just,
and offering an underage
yeah.
person drink.
Yeah. And I was like, this is asinine. Like, this conversation's asinine. So, and at the time, I literally had no thought of ever joining the military. Like, I was just not about it, didn't want to join the military at all. And he just starts telling me that I need to join the military. And he's like, I don't care if it's the army, the Air Force. He's like, you just got to do something. And I was like, okay, dude, whatever. So the next day, come home from school. It's a Friday. I steal the remainder of his beer and I put it in my backpack and I go to hang out with my friends. And I walk into in Jersey. It's just like a convenience store. It's called Quick Check. And I walk into this Quick Check, and I'm getting a slushie from the from the machine, and this little black dude, Sergeant Tice. Now I think he just got picked up Gunny, but Sergeant Tice just comes walking up with his little Florida accent. He's like, "Hey, what's going on there, man?" And he's like, "You ever thought about being a Marine?" I don't know how African American country guys talk, but that's definitely
Pretty
not it.
accurate, I guess.
But
Yeah.
but he just starts talking to me, and I'm just like ignoring him. And I'm like, "Nah, bro, I'm good. Like I'm not about it." Well, I forgot this part. Like after my brother had chewed me out, I went into my room to go to bed and I prayed. I was like, "Well, God, like I don't know what I want to do." I was like, "I have no idea what I want to do, and like if you want me to join the military, like
Give me a
maybe,
sign.
yeah, like one of those, like, put somebody in my life." Because I had at the time, like, I was graduating high school in 3 months. I didn't want to go to college. I had no idea. And the next day, this dude just comes walking up to me, and I was just like, no. And he's like, all right, well, he tries packing me out. He tries getting my information. And I guess I just gave him my cell phone number. And then he was like, well, here's my business card. And I was like, all right, whatever. And then all my boys are like, Doug, like, let's go, let's go. So I walk outside and he keeps talking to me. And I'm like, listen, sir, like I gotta go. But I was like, if you want to hit me up later. So I guess I never realized this until later on, until I found out the story from him and from my friend. The next day, the only thing I remember is I wake up and my dad is banging on my bedroom door and he's like, "Hey, there's some African American dude in uniform outside." And I was like, "What?" And he's like, "Yeah, there's some guy outside in a Marine Corps uniform. Like, do you have a meeting with somebody?" And I was just like, "No." So I go outside and it's Sergeant Tice. And I'm like, "Hey, man," he's like, "You don't remember? Like, I called you last night. I asked you all the information. You told me to pick you up tomorrow at 10 a.m. and I'm here." And I was just like, "No."
Ooh,
And my dad's like, "Hey, listen, like, if you told this guy you were gonna go meet with him, like, you're gonna go meet with him." Then he was like, "Go get in the
where
car."
does
He's
your
like,
bond?
yeah, so like that's how my dad is. So I ended up, getting in the car with the dude. I go to meet to go meet him and sit down with him, and his boss was he was a staff sergeant at the time named Staff Sergeant Patriakis. He is now a master gunnery sergeant, and he's still a close friend of mine. And he's the reason why I joined, because he literally punked the shit out of me. Like I remember, he was like, "Hey man," he went through the whole benefit type presentation. He was like, "Hey man, do you want to join the Marine Corps?" And I was just like, "Yeah." And then the master sergeant, at the time the staff sergeant, turns around and he looks at me and he goes, "Did you just say fucking yeah?" He goes, "How about fucking yes, sir?" And I was just like, "Good, good, 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 good to go, sir." And bro, it was hilarious. But yeah, so I literally ended up joining the Marine Corps off of, same thing like you said. But to get back to you, so what was it specifically that that made you, like, what was it, if you don't mind me asking, like why did you decide the Marine Corps? And then even with your parents being so as against it as they were, like what was it that was driving you to join?
I mean, after my prayer, I just kind of took it as a sign, like that, this was the right path for me. I'm
Well,
not
so
gonna go
but what
against God.
but what happened? Like you said a prayer, but what happened? Like, did you meet a recruiter? Like
I
what?
did. I did.
Like,
Well, no, no. So after I said my prayer, literally one of my friends from high school that I haven't seen in 3 months, the boot camp, um, like drove up and was like, "Why are you walking alone?" And I told him my situation. He's like, "Well, do you want to come see my recruiter? I'm on leave from boot camp.
no,
I'm on
some
RA." I was like, "What's RA?"
no.
Yeah,
Wait, so it was literally like that? Like you're literally
yes.
mid prayer and all of a sudden skirt.
No, it wasn't mid. It was probably like maybe like 2 minutes after me praying.
Okay, all right. So post
Yeah,
prayer.
yeah. But like I hadn't seen him in forever, and we knew each other, and it was such a, like a weird, like I don't know, like I literally asked, and it's like you ask and you shall receive kind of
Yeah,
thing, and I
yeah, yeah.
I just took it as a sign,
Seek
and
and you shall find. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
Okay. So I probably shouldn't say this, but like when I got home that night, my parents were like, We're not signing these papers." And I may have fibbed and said that, if you don't sign these papers, you will go to jail because it's the government. So that is how it became a
wait, hold on,
Marine.
wait. I gotta back up. So you left the house, you said this prayer, and then
Yes.
2 minutes, like 2 minutes later, give or take, your friend pulls up, and you got in the car and went to the recruiter the same like that, and this
Yeah.
all happened in
That.
one
Yep.
night.
In all one night. Yep. So
Shut the
I met with the
bro.
recruiter for, I mean, I think maybe an hour, maybe two. And like I just remember, taking the east, and then the recruiter's like, "Okay, yeah, please sit down." And then he just benefit tagged me, and he promised me I could go to jump school, which that was a lie. And travel, which that was kind of a lie. I did travel. I never did go to jump school though. And I took it, like I said, I took it as a sign, and I was gonna do this.
Wow.
And I came home that night with papers, and my parents were like, I'm not signing that. And so I was like, well, I mean, you can sign this or you go to jail, because they were still kind of, I mean, they're Asian and they don't
Yeah.
know. They're always afraid of the government. So
Wow.
they signed it, and I became a Marine.
Wow. So how was boot camp for you? I know that was a long time ago, but it was how was that, like, culture shock?
To me, it was easy.
Oh,
Well, because
okay.
like I got like a lot of it was because of like the
Hmm.
mental toughness,
Yeah, yeah.
And I love doing stuff like outdoors. Like I love, like rappelling, hiking, climbing, everything. So, um, to me, that part was easy. Like I love doing all that stuff, and then getting yelled at every day was, I mean, to me, coming from an Asian household, it was kind of like,
Yeah.
it didn't really faze me.
So what were you when before this happened, you said that you had a scholarship. What was the plan before this happened? Like, what was the scholarship for? And
I wanted to go to medical school.
oh, wow.
Wanted to be a doctor, but the thing is, my parents continue to push me. I mean, when I was in school, it was, you're either a lawyer or a doctor, and I hated anything with lawyers and anything dealing with that. So I was like, well,
Mhm.
I'm really good at science, so I'm gonna be a doctor. And so I took all my science, anatomy. I took biology, advanced biology,
Oh, wow.
chemical science, chemistry, like any sciencey thing I took,
Mhm.
and I was really good at it. But I also like didn't want to be like going on that path and then realizing, oh, this isn't what I wanted. This is what my parents wanted. So I needed to
Yeah.
find out if this was what I wanted. And
Yeah.
it still is. And I still am wanting to go that path. So
Okay.
um
I'm glad that you realized that, though, because like, and that's
yeah.
something that like I especially, and you were, I remember you said that you were a recruiter, and it's something that, like, another reason why I started my podcast is so that people can hear stories like this, because like I hate when I meet people who at 12 years later in their life they're like, bro, I don't want to be a doctor. I don't like this field.
Yeah. They're
And
like, wow,
it's like you just drop all this time and money and you're just like, no, I'm all right.
absolutely nothing.
Yeah. So I'm glad that you were able to pursue something different, so totally different. So now, how does your family feel now, like, looking at it? And have you ever told them that kind of fibbed?
Uh, so I never told them that I lied, but they did figure it out. It was actually recently, it was probably about a year ago. And my mom calls me up. She's like, I have a little brother and one little brother. And it's like, in the Asian family, like the boy is like very, very protective. And so my mom calls me up and she's like, oh, well, we got a notice in the mail, asking for your brother to join the military. And she's like, that night when you asked us to sign the papers? And I was like, yeah, I vaguely remember it. And she's like, yeah, well, we're not going to get in trouble with the government if we don't sign it. And she's like, you lied. I was like, maybe.
Sorry, mom.
Like,
So so how was your 11-year career? Clearly we can't get into the whole 11 years. We'll be here all night. But
yes.
did
It,
you and I know you had said that you got out because you had your son. But did you love it? Did you hate it? Like, what was your thought process?
I loved the people, not so much the organization. So definitely the camaraderie and the support was really good. My direct leadership, like my first enlistment was very touch and go. It was very like I had really good leadership like outside of my shop. Like I don't know, my shop was very interesting. When I first came in, I had a sergeant above me that was super sexist. So that wasn't great. All the females did not like me because I was very I like being alpha female and I like doing my job well. And I like if there are quals, I'm gonna get them. Like if
Mhm.
there's something that I can do better, I will improve myself to get there. And they did not like that at all. Um I remember this corporal, she was a female, and we went for a run for our whole shop, and she literally tapped out within like the first mile, and
Mhm.
she walked back to the shop, and we're like, whatever. And so we continued running, and I tripped and I fell and I scraped my whole leg. Like my whole leg was bloody,
Yeah.
and I still ended up finishing and stayed with PT, and we came back, and she looked at my leg and she's like, "Oh my God, are you okay?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm fine." I had to like dig rocks out of my leg. It was great.
Mhm.
And she's like, "You didn't come back? Like you didn't just turn around?" And I was like, "I don't give up as easy as you do." And she lost it on me. And yeah, so I don't know. I wouldn't blame them for treating me different, but I was just never like part of that female group kind of thing.
Okay.
You killed the light.
So and that's because I've had a couple of interviews with a couple of different females, and I've asked that question because a lot of people have different takes on how, everyone has a different take on how their military career went. And and a lot of times, like, I have, like, one of my friends, Velez, she spoke a lot about how, like, for instance, for her, it was a lot of people. She's now a staff sergeant in the Marine Corps looking at getting gunny. And for her, she's like, I get looked down upon all the time because I'm a female.
Yeah,
Like,
from
she
males
and
and from other females.
yeah, yeah, and then it's like, and a huge part of it too is either, okay, well, either males are looking down upon me because I'm a female in my MOS, even though, like, I know more than half of them in
Oh
the
yeah,
MOS. And then she's like, or other females and I just fight, or like, we're not, like, not fight, but like we just bash. So it's just like, it's like a toxic
competitive.
environment. And yeah, you're competitive because you want to be the better one. And it's just, so that's why I kind of asked that question, is like, what are your thoughts on that? So so you said you had a good and a bad experience, and you said you love the people but not the organization. Can you, like, do you mind speaking a little bit on that? Like, what do you mean by that?
Like I said, like the leadership was kind it like was good and bad, I guess. I've had great leadership as well. I was under well, at the time he was a gunnery sergeant Bull. He was our squadron guns at the time, so that was good. He's a great leader. Um, but yeah, like I said, I came in. There's a okay. There's a few negative stories. I spoke on kind of what happened to me with a woman with the effed up mind. I spoke with
Hmm.
them about my sexual assault experience, and how my leadership didn't do anything to stop it
Oh, wow.
at all. And yeah, so not the greatest experience, but the good stuff has been like learning and getting to travel, and just getting to know people. Well, Gunny Flores right now. I know him from recruiting, and I know you just spoke with him.
Yeah, yeah,
He's yeah, I don't know, he's such like he's like one of my motivations. Like he just does so much all the time, and it's I don't know, to me he's an inspiration. And
yeah,
just getting to know people like yourself and just being able to connect and network. I
yeah.
mean, it's to me, that's amazing.
So you know what's crazy about like that you bring him up. So I did that interview with him, right?
Mhm,
And then I posted it on this recruiting page on Facebook.
mhm,
And I did not know that I know from years ago, I know his it was his motor, it was his company Gunny, I believe, when he was in Japan. So when he checked into Japan and started college, I
mhm.
know his Gunny because his Gunny ended up commenting on the Facebook page because
It's a
somebody,
small Marine Corps.
dude, it's so crazy because this old Gunny, he was an 8412, and he's like, there's no such thing as a recruiter of the nation. And I'm like, yes, there is.
Yeah,
Like,
wanna bet.
there is. Yeah, like, what do you mean, bro? So like I commented back, and then all of a sudden this Gunny, I think I think he got out, but his name's Gunny Cordova, and he just hops in on this mess on this Facebook group, and he's like, first of all, and he just starts banging out like, and then he dropped a YouTube video when the commandant, promoted him meritoriously, and he's like, what do you think, this is all fake, bro? Like, no, like the
Fake
commandant,
news.
like this is reality, bro. But yeah, it's so crazy how small the Marine Corps it is. So I guess one of my next questions is, you were on recruiting duty, you said.
Yes.
What was your experience? Like, do you think it's like, was it a good experience? Was it a bad experience? Did you hate it? Was it the worst thing ever? Like, what do you think?
Um, mm, the good and the bad. Honestly, on recruiting, I had the best leadership. Like my staff sergeants that were above me were amazing. And then when I picked up staff, um and when I went to MEPS, like I had a solid team, like very well, solid leadership. I wouldn't say solid team. My team itself was very we had issues. Just say that.
I feel
I
like
think
that.
and I think that's
I feel like that's every team. I
yes,
honestly, I
yes,
feel like you really never hear about like this all-star team. And then when you have an all-star team, it gets broken up because you're too
yes,
good. And they're like, all right, well, we need to dismantle you because we need you here. We need you here. We
yep.
need you here. Like that happened. Like me and my boys would talk about it all the time. I got moved to an office for literally 2 months. And like I was only there for 2 months. And in the 2 months that I was there, I killed it. So
Mhm.
like this 1 month, all five of us in the office wrote bats that month. So we overwrote like by a sick amount. So like we all were just like, and we're still friends. We're in a group chat and we're all like, yo, like what would we have been like? Like what would we have been like if we actually could have like been in RSS for more than a month? Like,
Mhm.
because it would have been crazy. But so you said you had good leadership. So one of the things I want to ask you, because I witnessed it firsthand a lot when I was on recruiting duty. When I first got on the duty, I had a female, very close friend of mine, Sergeant Rodriguez. She's now a staff sergeant. I remember we would be out all the time, and people would thank all of us for our service, but they would never direct it towards the female. Did that ever happen to you a lot? Because it
Yeah.
happened to her every single day, and it was just like, and she would look at them and be like, "Am I not here? Like, do you not see me? Like is my service like less valid? Like I don't understand." Like,
Yeah. So there was one time we were called to judge so it was just like a few out of each RSS, and it was me and another female recruiter. And so we went over to this high school, and it was the ROTC. And so me and her got picked to do inspections for uniforms. And so it was like me, her, and like two other males. And so we were inspecting this um, high schooler's uniform, and he was male. And afterwards, he started like he got really like pissy, and he just had like, this like awful attitude. And somehow he said something. I didn't hear the first part of it, but she comes over and she tells me, she's like, oh, so he's upset because we were the ones that inspected his uniform, and because he wanted a male to inspect his uniform and not a female, because he does not consider us part, like he doesn't consider us Marine. And so I I laugh because I it's like good and bad, but we kind of lit this like a little high schooler up, like me and
Yeah.
her just like
Well,
went
yeah, you
at
just
him, like drill
100%. Like I would
instructors.
hope you did.
And yeah, we may or may not have made him cry in front of his friends.
Yeah,
But
because
but
yeah, and it's
it just to us, like that was such an insult because he
yeah,
was mad because because he has a brother who I think was in the Marines or something in the military.
yeah,
But to be upset because he was inspected by us instead
yeah,
of a real Marine, like
yeah.
we went in on this
Well, I
this
remember, and the same female that I was working with. I remember we had my buddy Arana. He was trying to put this female in the Marine Corps. Her name was Gemma Lauro, and she was like this really short, like 5'1", like just beast of a girl. Like all she wanted to do was be a Marine, but her parents were completely against it. Like, no, don't even come to my house. So she just surprised them, like did that, like the Marine Corps tactic, like, hey, we'll just show up to the house, they're gonna let us in.
yeah.
So my buddy Arana, he's Mexican, and he shows up to the house. Dad closes the door on him, wouldn't even let the door. Rodriguez, they're like, all right, well, maybe a female it'll help it out. So
Hmm.
she shows up to the house. The dad opens the door and he's like, listen to me. Women are not supposed to be in the military. The only place that women have is for them to be making sandwiches. That's the only place for them. Like literally, he's like, my wife, that's what she does. She makes sandwiches. And I this is now mind you, the story that I'm telling is the story that I heard. I wasn't there, but this is what I
Oh,
heard. So
so that's
I've heard multiple people tell me this story. And the reason why I'm saying it is because eventually these parents would just keep saying that, like, no, my daughter's not joining the military, she's not meant to be a Marine, she's not meant to join the military. Long story short, eventually, I don't know how it happened, but they ended up she joined the Marine Corps,
mhm.
and the parents signed whatever. And this is like right when I'm about to start recruiting duty. I was like, it was right before I was about to leave for BRC, and I'm at the office, and she's about to graduate boot camp like in a week or so from now.
Mhm.
And the dad comes in and he's like, hey, I need all the stickers I can get. We rented an RV. I need this, I need that. We're getting t-shirts.
Like,
So then they get all these t-shirts. Then the girl comes back from boot camp, and her dad and her mom got proud Marine parent tattoos. And I was just like, just because like I was like, wow. But another thing I want to ask you, just because like I'm trying to get people's opinion on it, because I've had people in the past get aggravated at me. So, and then to me, I don't know. I think it's stupid, but again, maybe I shouldn't think it's stupid. I don't know. Are you mad if somebody refers to you as a female Marine? Because I've heard that, and I've
yes
been like,
and
because
yes.
like I had a lieutenant, Brent. She was a sergeant, and she ended up going switching over and becoming a lieutenant. And I remember she got back from OCS, and I had a female pulley who just became a Marine. So I did an Instagram video, and I was like, female Marine, da da da, and I got lit up, like, and I was just like, that's what she is. She's a female Marine. Like, I think because and now here's my base. This is which is why I said it and why I still say it. And I ask people like, okay, which one do you want me to refer to you as?
Mhm.
Because like to me, and now mind you, I'm not a female, but to me, it's one thing to be a Marine, but which is because we consider ourselves the few the proud. But and like to me, it's like it should be like a proud thing that you are a female Marine.
Yeah,
Like
but
that.
a Marine. You shouldn't be dictating if it's female or not. And I think it's
Okay.
just what content you use it on too.
Okay.
I mean, yeah, we are female and we are, physiologically different. That's why, to me, I'm kind of against female going into like the infantry and stuff. I know, I just feel like we can show that we're BA in so many different other lanes, and we don't have to run in the same lanes as the boys because we're not. Like, I don't have anything dangling in between my legs. Like, I can't stay on the field for 10 weeks straight and not shower and be okay with it. Like, that's just, not what I can handle. I mean, if
Yeah.
another female can, I'm just not that type of female. But and like health wise is not good for us, you know?
Yeah.
So that to me, I'm not 110% like for that. And I mean,
Okay.
if you PT is as good as the guys, great. You know, we don't have to push into the MOS where it's predominantly male because, you know, and that's where you get a lot of, you know, the discrimination too against the females. And like what are you, I just don't understand like the mindset of these females going in there and then thinking that they're going to be welcomed with open arms. Like they're not, and they're going to have to deal with so much more because these guys are so used to this culture of
Mhm.
just guys, you know. It's different to introduce like almost like another species
Yeah.
into the ecosystem, you know. Like it's, but anyways, I digress. But but no, I mean, like I said, depending on what terms that you're or what how you're using female Marines, it could
Mhm.
be obviously derogatory or not. But
Okay.
I personally don't care.
Okay.
I am a female,
So
but
are
I do like just being called a Marine as well. So
all right. All right. So okay, so now how did you so you said you ended up getting out of the Marine Corps because of the birth of your son. Do you was there a specific reason? Was it just motherhood? Like, hey, I need to like what was it specific if you don't mind me asking?
no, it's fine. No, it's motherhood. I didn't want. Well, I gave birth to Aiden when I was on recruiting, so I was pregnant and still working all the way up until I was probably 8.5 months pregnant. Um,
Wait,
and
hold on. You were working all the way up until you were 8.5 months pregnant. Like as a
I
recruiter
wasn't
or
on
you were at
production.
MAPS or okay.
Yeah, I stopped being on production probably around the 7th month mark. But I
Mm.
worked up until, I mean, I was still working probably like 10 to 12 hour days and walking around like trying to AC and stuff like with my in New York in the wintertime.
Oh wow.
So that was not great.
It charged 220 miles.
Good. Aiden's been asking for you.
I got it.
But yeah, so I gave birth and then my parents actually had to take care of my son because I got switched over to MEPS and those were still 8 to 10 hour days. Like I couldn't just, you know, pick him up and leave or
Yeah.
take him to work with me. So I don't know. Because of the time away from him, I'm like, how am I going to do this as a deployment? Like that was only 5 months away from my son.
Yeah.
The deployment's going to be at least 6 or more.
Yeah.
I didn't want to miss that much of my son's life, so I decided just to get out. And also, me and Jesse, well, hopefully he'll be coming on here shortly, but
Yeah.
we were both active duty. So, and I was thinking, you know, what if we both deployed? Then my son.
Yeah. I was gonna ask you that. How did you guys meet?
So we were on recruiting. Oh no, I'm sorry. I was on recruiting. He was running like Ton Tavern Cafe in the RS. And whenever I did each month where you go up for training. What Jess? What's that called again? When you go for training?
All hands.
All hands, that's it.
Okay.
All hands. And he made me fruit.
6 months with fruit and legumes here, and I was extremely happy.
So he brought me like fresh food and fruit and stuff, and we kind of just went from there.
So okay, all right. So you get out of the Marine Corps, and then what happens? One of the questions I have for you was how was your transition, especially being, you know, going from a military member to now a military spouse to now a civilian? Like how was that transition for you?
Honestly, it was easy. It was harder for me from single to motherhood, honestly, because like for me, I've always like I know it's wrong to think of the Marine Corps as a job, but I always thought of it as a job. Like, and I always did it's never like I didn't do my best at it. I always did my best at it. But I never cracked under peer pressure with like any type of like how a Marine should be, like, you know, the typical Marines that like drink, smoke, cuss, all that
Yeah.
stuff, like tattoos. Like I don't have any of that. I don't do any of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't
So
drink, I don't smoke, I don't have
it's
tattoos.
so it's not that I kind of find people like, I don't want to say I find you unique, but I find it like I give so much credit to people to that, because it really like I get it that you maybe like I'll ask you the question like, but like it's got to be an insanely hard thing to do when you're surrounded by it, and it's literally like everywhere you're surrounded by in the Marine Corps is alcohol. Like our mess nights, our balls, our traditions. We founded the place in a bar. Like I think it's so. Have you just always been like that? Like just not a drinker, or
No, I stopped after my assault. That's why I stopped.
okay,
I never, um as I shared on the other podcast, so the after the assault, I never really spoke about it. And then the first time I ever went public with it was a female, um like a female gathering to kind of promote female unity in our in our squadron. And we were talking about sexual assault, and I finally decided and got my um sorry. Aiden, can you go see dad real quick? He's upstairs. I don't know. Can you go see him real quick? Hold on. Oh, okay. It's fine. Just leave it. Sorry.
it's
But
all right.
yeah, so the first time I ever shared my story, um the first person that ever said anything about it was a female, and she was like, "Oh, you probably deserved it because you were drunk," in front of all the other females. Yeah, so not that I drank after that, like after the assault, I stopped regardless. But to hear another female say that I probably deserved it and I was asking for it because I was drunk was like
Yeah.
just solidified everything. So no, but I was drunk while the assault happened, and that's one of the biggest reasons why I never reported it. I just to me, like I just felt like if a I know the female said it later on, but I just felt like everyone was just gonna be like, well, you were drunk. So, you know, you probably either asked for it or you put yourself in that situation, you know. So I just didn't really, and I didn't want to highlight myself because as a female crying wolf, you know, or someone was gonna say something,
Yeah.
you know, like, oh my gosh, you know, she's just crying wolf because, you know, that happened to her and she was drunk and blah blah blah. So I left it. But after that, I just stopped drinking because I never, ever, ever, ever wanted to put myself in that situation again. So I just stopped drinking.
So have you stopped drinking completely as a whole? Like you don't.
Yeah, I do not drink anymore.
So how long has that been?
Assault happened in about 2008. So since then.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
How does that feel
I don't miss
being?
it.
No.
I do not miss it at all. Even being around people that drink, it's not like a huge issue for me. Like I have fun sober and I make stupid decisions sober. So it's fine. Um, so but
Now I
yeah,
get to make stupid decisions, but not wake up with a hangover.
yeah, right.
Great. Best of both worlds. Uh,
Yeah.
so all right. So now so you get out of the Marine Corps, you have your son, and well, you have your son, you get out of the Marine Corps. Then what's next for you? Like what's the next part of the timeline?
I started my own business. So I started Credo's Pizza. That was
Wait,
it
hold on.
was
You started a pizza place?
yes. So I bought a pizza restaurant. It was in Jacksonville, North Carolina, right next to Lejeune. And I made a lot of mistakes with that place as a business owner, and it cost me a lot. But like the hardest lessons that are learned is life lessons, and especially in business. So I made a lot of mistakes with that. I was very impulsive when I was buying it, so I didn't do my research. And then because Jesse moved there when he just moved there. So like in the Marine Corps, obviously you stay somewhere roughly around 3 years. And I was like, hey, well, in 3 years, I'll have that place, up and running. It'll be fine. Well, he got histed. So I left with him to recruiting, and I had to leave my baby to someone else, and they just ran it to the ground. I did come back and run it for a tiny bit, which was amazing. It was I literally went from like 0 revenue to close to about 6 to 8 grand a month in about 3 months is when I got it back up and going. And then COVID hit. And then anyways, it was very taxing on my family and me, and I ended up shutting it down. So
okay. So how was sorry.
Well, continue. What?
No, I was gonna say, how was recruiting duty as a spouse being on the other side of the fence?
It was difficult. I understood a lot about like his hours and everything else. So what I would, not to talk badly about Jess, but he did take his work home, and that was very stressful on me. I didn't really help because I didn't really have a lot of sympathy because I've already
What do you mean? You should have been tasty and doing the
like,
packages. He should have been hanging out with your son while you were doing all the packages.
right? And so he did well though. He kicked butt on recruiting.
Yeah.
He did extremely well on recruiting. But some of the negativity did kind of seep into our family. But we worked that out. But I don't know, for me, I'm very different. Like work is work and home is home. Like I don't ever mix them. Like if I have a bad day at home, I'll be smiling at work, vice versa. I don't, I just leave everything at the door. And so even Jess was like, when I was on recruiting, he was like, oh, well, he's like, I thought recruiting was gonna be super easy. And I was like, why? And he's like, because you just came home with a smile every day. Like nothing ever seemed to bother you. So that would probably be my biggest tip for people that are married, that, just leave work at home. I know for recruiting, it's like a 24/7 job.
I couldn't, bro, I couldn't, man. Like my wife, like when I tell you, like my wife knew everything. Like my wife knows how to do McCris. My wife knows how to write packages. My wife knows how to, and I'm not kidding, because like, and now that I'm on a recruiting duty, I'll go out and say it, but whatever. But I literally taught my wife how to do all those things, so that, and it was my wife's idea, so I'm gonna blame it on her. When I was on recruiting duty, I had my son and I had my daughter. So, and my wife was realizing that like I was never home. So I wasn't coming home till like 8 or 9 o'clock at night or even whatever. But eventually my boss was like, hey, as long as you can get your stuff done and be home and have everything done, like I'll let you go a little earlier type thing. So my wife was like, well, why don't you just show me how to put your pack cards in? Like,
I offered, but he said no. So
yo, no way.
I'm not gonna force someone to take my help.
Yeah, so, of course. Yeah, no, all right, never mind. Well, that's Jesse's fault then. But but no, and I honestly, like, and that's why I'm like, I have such a heavy burden of like whether I want to go back to recruiting duty or I don't want to go back to recruiting duty, because I can go back as of March, but my biggest problem was I can't differentiate, and I always brought it home. Like I brought my wife and kids to get PCs to meet with parents all of the time. Like
and that's fine to incorporate them, but just don't bring like the negative stuff.
Yeah, but I don't know. I guess because my wife was like the only person I really talked to, so I would just come home, and like you said, like, and that was my problem, was like I would just never, and I didn't realize until it was too late, like I would never listen to her. So like I would come home and bitch about my boss and bitch about my day, and then it would be her turn to bitch, and I'd be like, all right, I'm going to bed.
Yeah, like I'm tired, man. Like I don't know what you're doing.
And she'd be like, but what about, like, can't I bitch about my job? Like what? And then so I'm not gonna, so I definitely understand where you're coming from on that. So how did you end up starting your business now? How did that come about? Where did you that whole thing transpire?
So because of COVID, I and because of my business before, I learned that I wanted to start a business with little to no overhead. And so I started looking for kind of other businesses. And Donica, who started Office Book, she was introduced to me by my partner now, Arugula. He's still active duty, but he introduced me to her because I was kind of looking at selling my own clothes actually. But I wanted to get kind of more information, more research on what to do and how to start and everything. So I got introduced to her, and she's like, well, I have Office Book, but I also have a daytime job, and it's starting to kind of, collide. So I want to sell this off to a female veteran. And I was like, okay, sure. I can take it over and run with it. And then I brought in my business partner, Aruba, on because he supports the brand as well. And so we took it and we ran with it. And we are breaking into talking to units and printing their shirts, and working with them on designs and creating their shirts for their own specific units or for courses. And
or for recruiting stations and
exactly, recruiting
police and
stations,
headquarters
exactly.
and
Yes.
staff and CO courses and
Yep, corporals courses, sergeants courses.
yeah.
And that's what we're trying to break into, because we have extremely competitive prices.
Yeah.
And we have really good quality when it comes to like printing, as you can like kind of see.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. And we have good quality shirts.
Yeah.
Which is way better than like.
I gotta be honest. I have a couple. I have like 5 or 6 of your shirts, and my favorite shirt is the one that I'm wearing, the Salt Dog. Because I remember,
it's thick and it's soft.
Well, and it's just the name, just the Salt Dog, because I remember being a Lance Corporal and deploying to Afghanistan, and I remember I had this salty sergeant, and he was like, and he had like this freaking thick accent. I think he was like he's from Alabama or Georgia or somewhere, and he'd be like, "Listen here, Salt Dog." He's like, he'd be like, "Hey, listen, you ain't no devil dog yet. You ain't got no salt." And we'd all be like,
I'm getting it right now.
Yeah,
sorry.
like when can I be a salt dog? Like, come on now. But yeah, no, I this is definitely one of my favorites. And but so you started the business. What's the, I guess, like, why did you, like, what's the is there a meaning behind it at all? Like, do you guys have a mission statement? Do you have like a goal or anything like that? I don't know.
Yes. So with the wool clothing, it was she just thought it was funny because like female.
I'm not gonna lie, when I saw that on Facebook, when I saw it on Instagram, I was like, do they know what a wook is? I was like, I don't think. I was honestly, this is what going through my mind, and I'm like, I was like, is this like a joke? Like, is this like, and then, well, no, but my thing is that at the time, like when I'm thinking about this, I'm like, is this just some like disgruntled Marine man vet that made this?
That would be bad.
That's exactly. And I'm like, wait a minute, like who is the owner of, like, what is going on here?
And I think that's why she wanted a female Marine.
Yeah. I was like,
a veteran. It didn't have to be. Yeah. But no, so it was, so it's more female ran. It's more like a female joke kind of thing.
Yeah.
And I get it. Like, cause I mean, anything derogatory, I want to turn into like a strength, almost like just to be like, so what, Yeah. It doesn't mean anything to me. Like you calling me that, like, doesn't have any effect on me, even though you want it to.
Yeah.
So,
that was, and I remember I was wearing this at work one day when I was working at the post office.
Yeah, I know, you told me.
And a female came up to me and she was like, "What is that?" And I was just like, "Well, it's actually like a female derogatory term in the military." And she was like, "You're wearing that proudly?" And I was like, "No, they're like trying to like point fun at it and say that you're not gonna define me," type thing. But okay, so now you're switching it over to Office Warrior.
due to the fact that because we're trying to break into a different market,
Yeah.
and we're talking to sergeant majors, lieutenants,
Yeah.
COs, and last thing I want to do is be like, hey, sir, you should use us, office.
Do you want to be a Wookiee?
Exactly. So, to be a little bit more respectful, and dealing with more professionals, so we turned it into office warrior clothing. But we really do want to help out any military veterans. I'm a huge supporter of veterans. Like anything that they want to bring us for a cause for veterans, like I'm all about it. Any nonprofits, all about it. I know I've worked with his name's Ross, but he runs a like a motorcycle for veterans. I've worked with the Freedoms and Fleur and her Enduring campaign. Worked with obviously you, but like anybody, and it, I want to help, and I want to make an impact too, because I know there's a lot of veterans out there who are suffering, military people that are suffering as well through a lot of things, and not just suicide. Because I support 100% suicide, but I also support, the sexual assault. I also support.
Oh yeah, of course.
Everything.
Yeah, and I think and it's another thing. Like I was trying to explain to somebody, like, because a lot of people keep asking me, as far as I've been on, like I have like this like my 53rd episode ish, and a lot of people, like, I constantly get asked, oh well, what is your podcast? Like when I talk to like family members or friends or like a buddy of mine over the weekend, they were asking me about it, and I was like, well, a lot of what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get, I had one sexual assault victim. She came on and she told her whole story about what had happened to her when she was in Japan, in the Marine Corps band. And and it really, what I'm trying to do is, because for me, and I had a master ask me the same question, like, bro, what are you trying to accomplish here? For me, and you can attest to this, while you're in the Marine Corps, and I don't know, I guess this is a question, the amount of classes that you get about sexual assault, they're literally just some crappy acting videos about how, this shouldn't happen, and no one, I'm not going to say no one takes it seriously, but 9 times out of 10 you have people like, hey man, make sure you sign my name because I got to go talk to sergeant major. And then, all of a sudden you have all these names signed, they're not there, and it just becomes like a plug. It just becomes a check in a box. Like, hey, did you guys do your sexual assault classes this year? Hey, did you get your suicide done this year? Did you get tobacco sensation? And it just becomes this like this check in the box, and it's not actually that, like, I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it doesn't feel like it matters. And my thought process is, and now mind you, I'm not going to sit here and say, hey, who's been sexual assaulted, who wants to stand up in front of everybody right now and tell them your story? I'm not going to say that. Yeah, but
not a good
idea. if people feel like they can come on the podcast and get it out there and tell people that, then people are going to listen more, and they're going to understand, like, fuck, that's my sister. That's my sister to the left and right of me, or that's my actual sister that I live with, or that's my mother, or whoever. And I think that it happens so much out in the world, but we just don't know it happens, or it happens so much that we just turn a blind eye to it, and we just don't even want to talk about it. And then it's like, well, we got to do something about it. And it's the same thing. It's like, and like you said, it shouldn't be one or the other. It shouldn't be like, okay, well, this month we're going to focus on suicide. No, we should just focus on all of it, because it's all of it. It's the same thing with like alcoholism. Alcoholism, people are pushed to drink, people are encouraged to drink, and it's something. Yeah. And then if you don't drink, it's like, hey man, why don't you drink? And it's like, it's like, it shouldn't matter, and so I think it's definitely awesome, that you've been able to take that negative experience and turn it into a positive experience, or I guess the best you can.
Yes, I agree. But
yeah.
No, for me, I think it's not a military issue. It's a cultural issue.
Yeah. No. Yeah. It is. It's 100%. It's a life. It's
everything.
And that's the thing too, is like when people like, because like my wife was like, well, Doug, you want to watch what you're saying on your podcast, because like, what if people start taking this as like, oh, I don't want to join the military because I'm going to get assaulted. And it's like, okay, well, that happens everywhere. In any way, like, my wife, sometimes, there's been times in her careers that she's felt like, oh, my owner of this building doesn't think of me as great as I could because I'm a woman. And it happens everywhere. It happens in, female police officers, female. So it's happening everywhere. It's not just something that's, unique to the military.
No, none of this, unfortunately, is unique to the military, but it does get more blown out of proportion, though, once you add, a Marine or any type of
Hmm.
military to it. So
Yeah.
I don't know, it's a culture thing. Like now, like just looking at the media right now, it's just you're objectifying women. Women are objectifying women. Like it's not even men objectifying women anymore, and it's encouraged for you to smoke, to drink, to and all that other stuff. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, us not as but as humans, we have a sheep mentality, like a herd mentality.
Yeah.
So if you think it's cool, then I want to think it's cool.
Yeah.
But the thing is, we need to break out of that, like the individualism. And I think joining the military actually is a huge, I guess, a huge trait for you to kind of break apart from your norm, from your comfort zone, from
Yeah.
the herd mentality almost.
But that's the thing too, is that like but it's like some people say that, right? And they're like, okay, well, I joined the military to get out of this, but now I just formed into this clique that's like worse than what I had. Like some people feel that way. Like I had a friend of mine, he's like, yeah, man, I joined the military to like get away from all that shit. And now I'm actually like, I'm day drinking in the barracks and I'm freaking jumping off a third deck. Like I didn't want that. It's like, well, okay, well then you didn't have to choose that. You made that decision.
Like,
And that's,
you should surround yourself with people that are better than you. And
and
that is huge.
it really is. I was actually listening to this Andy Frisella podcast, and he was talking about that, about like, hey, who are you in a group chat with? He was like, are you in a group chat with people who are like helping you get better, or people who were just like talking about getting wrecked this weekend? And it's the reality of it. Like you have, and that's the worst part about it too, is that you have so many people who get out of the military and they're like, fuck, man, I wish I used my tuition assistance. Hey, fuck, I wish I didn't blow all my money away. I wish I didn't, and that's why, like, when you had said earlier in the beginning, like that your recruiter had said, hey, you can get travel, you can go to jump school. I'm the type of recruiter that I'm like, hey, listen, man, these are all of the opportunities that can happen.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to say they will happen because I don't have a little genie ball. I don't have these opportunities. So if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it didn't. Like, because you can't be mad at me. Because like, and I was the same guy that I was actually funny because this dude hit me up last night. I wanted the first kid I put in the Marine Corps. He was an EPBC. And literally, my boss hooked me up because I was really trying. I was trying to figure things out, and it just wasn't working. So my boss was like, "Hey, man, go hit this kid up. He's an EPPC. He wants to join the Marine Corps. Like, just go find him." So I go find the kid. His name's Hadi. He's a corporal now. He's active reserves. And when he joined, he was like, "Oh, I want to go active duty." And then he was like, "But my mom wants me to go reserves." And I literally looked at him and I was like, bro, are you fucking kidding me? I was like, dude, you're going to join the reserve program. You're going to come home from boot camp and you're going to beg me to switch you to active duty. And I'm going to look at you and I'm going to tell you, I can't do that. And then you're going to be like, bro. And I'm going to be like, bro. And then 4 years from now, you're going to call me and be like, you were right, Staff Sergeant. And I was just like, it's going to happen. So no shit, came home from boot camp. Like, Staff Sergeant, can I go become a fucking pool? Can I go join active duty? I'm like, no, I told you that. And now last night he's active reserves now because he went AR, and he is like, he was like, bro, I really wish I went active duty. And all I said back to him was mommy with a sad face. And he just goes, yeah, I was a bitch. And I was like, hey man, I was the realist. Like, if people told me they wanted to go reserves, I would tell them, like, listen, bro, the reserve program is not for you. Mm-hmm. Straight out, because it's going to freaking screw you. And that's a lot of what my a lot of my command hated. But I was like, hey, listen, I'm still going to find you the reservists that you need. But I'm not going to find reservists that are going to go UA in the Marine Corps and that we're going to have to find again regardless. Like, let's just put the right people in the right boots, like. But
100%. I think my worst story was, so there was this girl Anyway, so this was like left over from like the last 3 recruiters. So this chick, she has been
Oh,
wanting to join the Marine Corps
so she was
for
one of
like
those.
3 years.
Oh
Like, but
God.
she was a Bravo and she could not get Alpha. Like, everybody studied with her. Everybody's like, hey, hit the books. The police
Yeah.
did. The recruiters did. We spent so much time on her. She finally got Alpha. Finally, after 3 years. We're all like, hallelujah. And then she goes, oh, well, I can't go now because my boyfriend said I shouldn't join the military. And we're
Bro.
like,
Do you know what this means? Do you know what?
like, what? Like, after 3 years, and she's dated this guy for 4 months. 4 months in 3 years. I was like, oh. So I was like, oh.
Bro, I'll tell you, man, that is something that I'll never, because I work for a college now. And that's something that I just think is so crazy. And again, it's like you were saying, like it's just normal, it's just like that, the mentality that people grow up with, because on recruiting duty, like people say no all the time. Like you're so used to no. It's like when you hear yes, you're like, wait,
yeah, what? Like, wait, hold on.
Wait, hold on. You just saved me like a day. And so like I used to get, so people say no all the time, or even getting on the phone with people. Now I work for a college and I show them the price for the class and they're like, yeah, where can I
sign up?
Where can I sign? They're never like, no, man, I gotta think about it. Like, gotta talk to my parents. Like, they're literally like, yeah, right now. Like, I'm down. Yeah, let me sign right now. Like, never. And I'm not, mind you, I'm not talking negative about college. I'm not saying anything like that. But it's just crazy that like people literally are like, oh yeah, 40 grand. Yeah, who cares? It's future. That's future me's problem. I'll later on in life, I'll hate myself. And you're like,
and then you get out, you have no job experience, and you start off as an intern, making like peanuts, and and then trying to pay off this like humongous debt. But, it's cool.
Yeah, that's why, and it's so hard for me, like as like when I'm doing my job, because like a lot of times I want to be on the phone with these, like most of the people that I talk to are like over the age of 40. Like no, like not a lot of young people go to this college. But when I'm on the phone with the younger people, yeah. But when I'm on the phone with the younger people, I'm just kind of like, I want to be like, bro, stop what you're doing. Here's a Marine Corps recruiter's card. Call him right now. Come back to me in 6 months with your GI Bill in the reserves, and then we'll do this. Like, or hey, come back to me in 4 years, and then I'll take care of you. Because it's like, I'm just watching and then the worst part is like, when you meet people like, or I have the opposite where I have like 60-year-old people who are like, yeah, this is my 4th college. I'm just trying to find out what I want to do with my life. And I'm like, you're 60.
You're ready to die. That's what you're
like, what? Why do you want another degree that you're not going to use there, Aunt Jemima? Like, I just don't understand. Like literally all these different people, like, and it's crazy. It's just nuts. And people are just like, oh, well, yeah, I didn't like that degree. Oh, I didn't like this one. I didn't like this one. And I'm like, so the solution is just to get another one you don't know you're going to like?
Yep, exactly. And that's the catch with college, is because you don't have any personal experience. Half the time, people don't even leave their own hometown. Like, how long have you been here?
That was,
years?
dude, that was the thing that killed me, was like, because I was a recruiter in my hometown. Well, I grew up in Brooklyn and then I moved to Jersey, but I was a recruiter for my high school. So I would just go off the walls. Like when I was doing class talks, I would look at them and I'd be like, bro, do you want to be fucking Bob? And everybody in the class would be like, who's Bob?
Bob.
And I'd be like, Bob, aisle 9 at fucking ShopRite? Yeah, you know who he is because you've seen him your whole fucking life. And I'm like, guess what? Bob graduated this high school. And Bob went to Brookdale, and Bob went to this school. And guess what? Bob is he gives you your can of beans. And they'd be like, but so what are you saying? There's something wrong with being the guy at Sugar? No, I'm like, listen, no, I'm not saying that. And because then teachers are like, oh, well, somebody's got to do it. Yeah, but it ain't me.
Yeah.
Like, why does it got to be you? Like, no, like you have so much more. And then and that's what I'd ask people, like you said, like, and I'd ask them like who, and that's how like my class talk would start. I'd be like, did you wait when you were born? Did you grow up and say, wow, I want to never leave Middletown? Like, did you say that? Like, are you cool with that? Like, you're cool with never leaving here, dying here? Like, you're cool
But
with
that's
that?
for a lot of New Yorkers. Like their mindset was just mind blowing. They're like,
Yeah.
oh, well, I live in a house with like 50 other people, but I'm cool with it. I'm like, what? Like,
I'm not
there's
gonna
so
lie.
much
I'm not
more
gonna lie.
out there though.
I'm not gonna lie. I grew up in Brooklyn, and that's how I was. Like when my parents moved me to Jersey, I was so livid, and I was like, as soon as I graduate school, I'm going back. And I went back for one day, and then
And you're like, oh
I
yeah.
realized like how expensive it was. I realized how like all of my friends were fucking douchebags, and they were gonna live at home with their parents because they couldn't afford to move out. And then I was just like, all right, you know what? I'll just visit once in a while. So now that's what I do is I just visit once in a
Yeah,
while.
yeah,
But you
probably a good.
know, it's and that's the thing. I think you know is with all of it. It's like you, for instance, like you're now a business entrepreneur. And did you go to college for business?
I did, but I do not recommend it for people.
Thank you.
honestly,
Like,
honestly, Bill, it's okay, Bubba. Aiden, can you go see Dad real quick?
Does that look like a pea?
It looks like a snake. Go see
It's
Dad.
a pea.
It's a pea. But yeah, I honestly business. So I got my degree on active duty. It took me like 3 years and some odd months. I don't remember. But it didn't even take me like full 4 years. Yes, I was a hermit, but I was okay with it because I got all my college done. I took 3-4 classes one semester, like while on active duty, which is like more than a full class load for a regular person. I remember taking leave, and literally 6 out of those 7 days I was doing my finals. So I had like a 30-page paper I had to write. I had like 2 finals I had to do. I literally from like I wake up to when I went to bed, like I did all like the obviously eating and going to the bathroom. But like the whole time on leave, I was just knocking out my courses. But yeah, so I was able to get my degree. I started my master's. I thought logistics was something I wanted, hated it, so I stopped. I have like 3 out of my 12 completed. And so, but yeah, I even as a recruiter, I always took my pullees or my applicants' goals, and I literally planned out what the Marine Corps could do for them to
yeah,
reach that goal.
yeah. Then and that's exactly what I did.
And I
Because
college.
I never wanted somebody because like I hated being like I'm a reservist, so I've seen everybody join out of this office and then either come back and kill it or come back and be on Facebook and be like, bro, the Marine Corps was the worst thing I ever did. Da, 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 da. So and I would always blast them. I would blast them on social media and be like, yeah, bro, because you got NJP'd. Yeah, bro, because you got this. Like, yeah, bro, you got this. Like, what? You didn't do anything great. Like you couldn't stay in the Marine Corps.
Yeah.
Like and so like the reason why so when I was a recruiter I would do the same thing. I would literally like draw them out a roadmap and I'd be like, listen, these are all of the and I would tell moms and dads that like, listen, I'm not promising your kid this beautiful world that he can't live in. Like, listen, these are all things that are freaking possible, but the reality of it is that you got to want it. And I told like because parents would be like, all right, you know what, the only way I'm going to sign is if you promise me you're going to get a degree. And I would look at the parents and I'd be like, listen, you're going to sign that. And he's going to say, Mom, I promise. And then all of a sudden, 4 years from now, he's probably going to get out of the military. He's not going to have a degree. And the mom was like, wait, why are you telling me that? I was like, because I'm not lying to you. If he doesn't want to get a degree, he's not going to get a degree. If it's not important to him, then he's never going to do it. But if it's important to him, then he's going to make it happen. But if it's not and that's why like when I did like benefits presentations and stuff like that, I would always ask the parents, like, hey, what do you think your kids are going to pick? And every time mom and dad are always completely opposite of each other. And then I'm never forget it, dude. I did an interview with this kid. The kid was in the East room, taking the East, and it was the mom, the dad, and the little brother. And the little brother was probably like, no lie, like 8 or 9 years old. And he's sitting here, he has his headphones on, and he's playing on his little iPhone, like playing some like Fortnite game or some shit, PUBG. And I asked the parents, I'm like, hey, listen, go over these and pick which three you think your son's gonna pick. So the mom and dad literally picked these three, and they're both complete opposites. The kid takes off his headphones and goes, y'all don't know him. And the kid picks the three random tags, and he's like, that's it right there. And his kid's like, no lie, like maybe not even 10 years old, if that. And the parents are like, and it was nowhere near anything the parents picked. And the kid comes in and he just looks at him, and I took him away so he couldn't see him. And then I do the presentation, whatever, and he picks the three tags that the little brother picked. And I literally looked at mom and dad, and I was like, listen, the reason why I do that is because you came in here with an idea for your son that he doesn't want. Like, that's not what he wants. And you think that you know everything about him. You think that you know his goals. And a lot of times it's like, wait a minute, you want self-reliance? And the parents are like, and it's like, well, yeah, maybe did you ever ask him if he wants that? Like, you know, but and that's the thing though, like, and that's why I'm glad that like you shared your story, because like a lot of people are like, oh, like that's why I always ask people what was your experience? Because I feel like there's and this is just my opinion. Every time I ever see anybody on social media saying the Marine Corps is like the worst place ever, I'm like, did you get NJP'd? Did you enjoy, or like people who tell me Japan sucked, then I hear Japan was the best place ever. I'm just like,
I'm like, what exactly did you do in Japan? Western the Bergs.
well, no shit.
God, mind blown. Like, no,
Wow, yeah.
yeah, of
My
course
my bedroom is a horrible place too, and you know, when my wife isn't in it.
you've been there for 6 months. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. No.
So what's next? Do you guys have any future endeavors, anything coming up besides the changing of your name? Is there anything else? I know you said you're working with a couple of different nonprofits, or trying to work with the units and stuff. Do you have any future goals or anything that you have in mind, or any endeavors that you are looking at completing?
Yeah. But to finish off the last thought, yes. So everybody that I put in, I always
Oh
told
yeah.
it's like full advantage of the Marine Corps. And that's because I mean it's free college, you get degrees, you can get certificates, you can set yourself up. And for me, honestly, re-enlisting was one of my biggest mistakes. Biggest mistakes. Yes, re-enlisting. I wish I would
Really?
out and taking what I've learned and my experiences and running with it. Like I said, I mean, for me, like I said, the Marine Corps was a job for me. It was a job that I did very well. But it was literally a job. Like, and I treated it as such. I never got brainwashed. I never, but like I said, like my sleeves were always crisp. My cover was always like, immaculate. My hair, maybe not so much. I hated doing my hair. But I treated it as a job. But anybody going in, I think, there's just so many opportunities, just so many opportunities, like education wise, to set you up for your future. And that's why I'm super inspired by Gunny Flores.
Yeah.
He's about to pick up. So he's gonna be master.
Yeah, when when I dropped that episode, I had like all these people on recruiting duty hit me up, and they were like, bro, I feel like such a shitbag that I'm not going to college right now. And I was just like,
if you want it, like you
yeah,
will, like, and that's what I take from him. Like his work ethic and his prioritization is just amazing,
yeah,
And that's and anybody could be him. You just have to want it bad enough. And like for him, like he very much inspires me, and we're still very good friends, and we still, talk and stuff. And I tell him all the time, I'm like, hey, you are, you're one of those people that I'm happy to surround myself with,
yeah,
I'm trying to get on your level,
yeah,
so but anyways, future endeavors, I do want to get more involved with just different veteran associations, create more of awareness, and then break into more, probably different apparel, maybe different products, and then continue to go and break into units and print stuff for individual businesses, as well as the Marine Corps. So
all right. I was going to ask you something else. Oh, do you have any advice for us, for anybody? Because you said you started off, you kind of jumped into a business, didn't really work out as great as you did. You learned a lot. Do you have any advice for anybody like myself who is, new into the business and entrepreneurship? Do you have any advice for people like that? Any do's and don'ts? Any, quick words that like, hey, be careful of this or that? Any advice at all?
Yes. So get yourself a good mentor. That is like one of the top things that I wish I would have had, was just maybe someone to bounce ideas off of. Don't be impulsive. Do your research. Um, and just reach out. Don't be afraid to reach out to people that are already, that are established or have a business. I know there's a bunch of like discussion groups and entrepreneurs that are, especially veterans, that are, grateful for people to come up to them and support them. And, we all grow as a team. So I, yeah, just do your research. Do your research. And you don't need a degree for business. Honestly, if you want to learn something, get a book.
Yeah.
Like, and then learn from other people. Learn from
Yeah.
other people, their experiences, their mistakes, their successes. Really, I honestly like, if if I really like, if my degree really helped me, I probably wouldn't have gone into the deep mistake that I did. And
Yeah.
also, don't give up. Like, every entrepreneur will hit a high point and a low point. Like, once you're at your low point, don't let that be where you stay.
Mm.
Because a lot of people, as soon as they hear the word failure or experience failure, like that's the end of them. Like, don't, like, there's greener pastures later on. Like, you just have to keep on wanting it. Like, you can't be stuck in a point of your failures. So just keep on trucking. That's like I always just, hey, keep going and don't be afraid to fail, because every failure is a life lesson. Yeah, it might cost you. It might cost you everything.
Yeah.
You will never make that mistake again.
Yeah.
So know that. And just surround yourself with good people. Surround yourself with people that you inspire to be. Don't surround yourself with people that are stagnant, because you're going to end up being stagnant, because groups of a feather flock together.
Yeah.
You need to humble yourself and realize that you don't need to be the smartest person or the most successful person in that room, because that's not a room you should be in.
All right, word. So where do we find you? Where can the listeners get your merchandise? What is your Instagram, Facebook, website? What do we got?
Everything. No. So right now we're creating our own page. It's in production for Office Warrior Clothing, but there is a link on my Instagram, Office Warrior Clothing. That's the handle. And there's a link to it that you can get our merchandise off of Etsy currently, but we're trying to make a standalone website, just ours, not attached to any Shopify or Etsy or anything.
Okay. Okay. All right, no doubt.
Is JWOOHOO101. That's my other handle for Instagram.
Okay. All right. Well, hey, thank you so much for coming out. I appreciate you. I thank you so much for what you're doing. I love, your clothes. I wear them. And also I can't wait to have your husband on at some point. That'll be another episode that we do. But thank you so much again for everything. And I appreciate you, and I hope you have a good rest of the night, and adios.
Thank you. You as well. Bye.